You gotta eat. Episode 127 of the School of S.H.R.E.D. Welcome to the show, everybody. Think we got audio today. We had a fun day yesterday with our audio. I think we're good today. So welcome to the show. This is episode 127. Today we're going to talk about improving our relationship with food. I'm going to give you guys some tips on how to do that. Some things that I've found useful with clients over the years. Welcome to the show. The show is here Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Facebook, Instagram, YouTubes. And then the audio is also available on Spotify and iTunes. So you can search the School of S.H.R.E.D and take the school on the go with you wherever you go. Wherever you go, we go. So throw a flex emoji in the comments as you jump on here. And hopefully you all can hear me today. We have fixed the glitch. The glitch has been fixed. Do you guys know it is extremely foggy out right now? It's really cool. You guys know what movie that's from? I quote movies a lot. We fixed the glitch. That's from Office Space. I think I've talked about that movie quite a few times on here. Office Space. It's a Mike Judge movie. The guy who made Beavis and Butthead. It's got Jennifer Aniston in it. Ron Livingston. It's a hilarious movie. If you haven't watched it, that's your homework this week. You need to go watch that movie. Office Space. We fixed the glitch. So this thing will work itself out naturally. So anyway, had some audio stuff yesterday. It was kind of fun. Battled through that. My producer was fired yesterday, and so I'm looking for a new producer now. Just kidding. I'm a one-man show here. So anyway, let's get around to it, huh? So you got to eat. You got to eat. So we're going to talk about that. How you got to eat. And having developing a positive perspective when it comes to food is one of the most important things that you can do for your health. It's going to be one of the most important things, and it gets tricky. And I was talking to a client on the school last night. We had our live class meetup last night on Wednesday, and talking to the students, and we were riffing off this for a while, but. See, the difference with somebody who develops a poor relationship with food, which could be many things, many reasons why you would have a poor relationship with food, doesn't always mean a full-blown eating disorder. But the difference between somebody who has a poor relationship with food and then a poor relationship with alcohol or drugs or stimulants or anything of that nature is that you have to eat. And this is where it gets really tricky, is that if you end up getting a poor relationship with food, and, there's a few books that talk about how it's kind of cheesy to say this relationship with food, but, it really is a relationship with food, though. I mean, it's like the way that you look at your food. We can call it perspective then. This perspective you have about the way you feel your body, but we have to have some type of a game plan. And there's different game plans. There's counting macronutrients. There's, basically looking at the X's and O's or the ones and zeros of nutrition, which is proteins, carbs, fats. If you want to do it that way, that's fine. Really analytical people tend to be okay with that, or type A personalities. Some people who don't want to count everything and they feel like it makes them obsessive compulsive, then, they need to focus on fueling their body and not counting calories and eating good, solid nutrients. But you still need to have a perspective on food that is healthy and that falls within some type of guidelines for long-term health, because to not take any action steps is extremely dangerous because we have too many toxic chemicals in our foods now, unfortunately. Like, for instance, polyunsaturated fats or oxidized oils, these industrialized oils, they're not good for you. They're just not good for you. And so now you can say moderation if you want to, but moderation doesn't make them healthy in moderation. So, and what that means is if we have to create this guideline of, hey, I'm trying to not have and consume these types of oils without going, oh, oils are so bad I can't have them, and then it creates this negative relationship with certain foods. Like, we don't want to have this negative relationship. We want to improve our relationship. But it's so important to have a positive perspective and to get back to this whole idea of, if you drink too much and you quit alcohol, you can go to things like AA, where you go to a support group, you stop drinking, and you abstain from it completely. We can't do that with food. And so it's super tricky. And this isn't talked about a lot in our society, is the addiction that we have to food. We are addicted to food. Food is made to be addicting now. If you had $1 billion food company that made snacks and you wanted to make money and maximize profits, how would you go about doing that? Do you think maybe putting a lot of research and development into making things hyper palatable would be a good expense on the expense sheet? Probably, right? Having a chip crunched the right way, having the right amount of salt in it, maybe adding some monosodium glutamate, some other additives, maybe to lengthen the shelf life that these foods have that you're selling so you don't lose profits. Maybe you'd put some preservatives in there, even though they might be neutral or not as good for human consumption. This is all the stuff that happens, and we get addicted to food because of some of these additives or these hyper palatable foods. Now, I want to live in a society where these foods are available, because every now and again, partaking in certain, if you want to call them junky foods or whatever, processed foods, these foods that are hyper palatable and really good, I want to be able to partake in them. Every now and again, if I want to have Doritos or something like that, that's like if I'm watching a game, cool, awesome. I want to be able to have that option. I don't think we shouldn't have that option. I think that we just need to be aware and cognizant, ruthlessly cognizant, that these foods they're not good for us. But we still have to eat at the end of the day. And so if we want to cut, say, Doritos out or processed foods out, we have to figure out how to navigate territory that where we're eating food still, where we're not just stopping eating, because that doesn't work. So a good relationship with food is imperative for long-term health. So we want to try and develop that. And I got 3 tips here, and I was kind of thinking of a 4th one right before the show started that I can get into. And these are 3 tips for improving our relationship with food, your relationship with food, that you can take these examples and make use of them in your day, in your nutrition plan. And the first one is eat for health, not fat loss. Okay, so if you're somebody who you feel like you want to improve your relationship with food, because there's going to be some people that are listening to this they just want, like I said, the ones and zeros, right? They just want to do the programming of like, oh, I just need 150 grams of protein, 150 grams of carbs, and 60 grams of fat. Then they're good with that, and then they're fine. Some people, that doesn't work for them. It makes them too neurotic. And so for people who kind of have to walk on ice when it comes to nutrition, eating for health, not fat loss, can help that a lot. A lot of the students that come to the School of S.H.R.E.D Online Health Academy, that's what we're doing. As a result of that, they lose fat. But it's because of getting their body healthy, fixing any metabolic damage that's going on, and getting things running optimally. The body starts to drop fat and inflammation, because your body doesn't want to be overweight and inflamed. It's the addictions that we have to food, or for lack of a better term, mindlessness that happens when we just eat things for convenience. And that's what I mean by mindless. It doesn't mean that you're stupid or anything like that, like any demeaning context. It's that if you're just eating what's convenient to you, that's mindless behavior of like, hey, I'm hungry, so I'm going to stop by, this fast food spot on the way home because I don't want to make anything when I get home. And so you're allowing life to just happen to you, as opposed to putting a plan into action. So anyway, when you eat for health, you will lose fat as a result, most likely, depending on, obviously calorie consumption does matter. But if you focus on health, you're going to do all the right things that will get you to lose fat, right? If you focus on health, what does that mean? That means you're trying to focus on insulin sensitivity. You're trying to focus on nourishing your body and increase energy levels. You're trying to focus on reducing inflammation. You're trying to focus on increasing gut health, so you have good digestive health. All of that stuff leads to a body being not inflamed, being able to digest food properly, assimilate nutrients properly, and then burn body fat that it needs to. So I have a lot of clients now that I use the strict macro counting a lot less than I used to. I used to always use that. And I still do for some people because everybody needs something a little different. It's definitely a big factor. I mean, it's important. You can definitely get somewhere if you just count macros and calories for sure, because everything's counted anyway in your body. But this other way of just kind of going for health and being more principle focused, this has really started to help a lot of my clients and then students on the Online Health Academy now, to where they're losing fat, not effortlessly, but it becomes second nature, and it becomes a symptom of just all of the good things that they're doing. Like, people aren't intentionally trying to lose weight; they just start losing weight because they're eating for health. So if you eat for fat loss, it can take you down a really neurotic road, depending on who you are. Some people, it's just not good for their psychology to be weighing food all the time and counting every little thing, and then stressing out if they, have 10 extra grams of carbohydrates. I've known people who, unfortunately, broke into tears because they were over like carbohydrates, like by like 12 or 13 grams in a day, which is not, it doesn't matter. But just because it doesn't matter to you doesn't mean it doesn't matter to other people. And so we have to be careful with that neurotic place that we can get to, and that really obsessive compulsive place that we can get to with nutrition. And so that's why I want to talk about this, is because some people might not need this episode, and a lot of people might really need this episode, and realize that there's a way to eat that creates good relationship, a good relationship to food, and not a worse off one. And so the way you can do that is by eating for health, not strictly fat loss. And as a result, that will increase your relationship with food. It'll increase your longevity in this thing, and that can ultimately lead to you losing the fat that you want to lose. So the second thing is think long term. So thinking long term, very important, and it's really hard when you got goals you want to hit. So say if you're trying to lose body fat and you're like, well, I got to think about eating healthy now as opposed to losing body fat. This is going to be weird. You're going to have a hard time with that. Again, you got to re-engineer what you think of as health. Losing fat is healthy, right? You can eat for health and lose fat that way. And the same thing goes for number two, is when you think long term as opposed to short term, you actually plan for the failures and the little setbacks you're going to have along the way, because you're going to have them. Nobody's perfect. I've trained over 100 people in person. That's a lot of people in person. Now, I see a lot of people that are online coaches that say thousands of people. Eventually, I'll be able to say that. But, I would say it's more of an intimate relationship, an intimate setting when you're with somebody in person all the time, and you really get to see that character. Say you train somebody for 6 months to a year to 2 years. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about my clients. I've trained people for a long time where they're closer with me than they are their family, or they see me more during a week. And there's going to be setbacks. There's going to be setbacks. Plan for that. Know that's going to happen. It's okay. It's taking small steps forward. So thinking long-term is really hard when you have goals you want to get to, when you have short-term goals that you want to get to. But if you just look long-term of, okay, I want to take care of myself for the rest of my life, what happens is if you have a little setback, say you overeat or you go out with friends and you overindulge, that's not a big deal. That's fine. Or maybe you didn't get your workout in. That's fine. Maybe you skipped a day. That's fine. You just got to get back on the pony the next day, right? Riding the pony's fun. So you want to get back on the pony. If you think long term, you get back on the pony. All right. So plan for setbacks are going to happen. Celebrate small victories, right? So when we think long term with our nutritional habits and our long term health, we can celebrate the small victories. So say we plan for setbacks. We have a setback where we overate over the weekend and it set us back. We gained a couple pounds or something like that. But what did you do last week that was good? Maybe you ate healthy 5 days in a row. So instead of, counting all of your shortcomings, count the blessings and the victories that you got as well. Make sure that you look at both of them, right? You can see that you're progressing, but also you could do better, right? But those setbacks are going to happen. You're no different than anybody else who's ever embarked on changing their health and fitness, for the better, right? We've all had setbacks. I've had setbacks all the time, and it's just part of the process. I mean, when I started working out, I was like, I wanted to be 100% perfect all the time. It's not possible. It's not going to happen. Expect to be a little disappointed here and there, but you need to be counting your victories along the way. And this helps that relationship that you have with your program and your food. And then make small changes. If you think long term, you're going to be more inclined to be okay with making small changes. Small changes like drinking enough water for the next week or two before doing anything else. We talk about that a lot on here. I've given that out, 15 milliliters of water per pound of body weight. You can go to a gallon a day if you want to, which is 128 fluid ounces. But just focus on hydrating your body, making sure that you're drinking enough water for a week or two, or a month, or 2 months, or 3 months, depending on who you are, how hard this is for you. Just do that. That's one small thing. But if you look at the overall long-term plan, you're on the path. Or maybe you start pulling polyunsaturated fats, these industrialized oils. You start pulling them out of your diet. Maybe you start pulling processed food. You go, I'm only going to eat things that have one ingredient in them. And you just slowly do this over time. This is exactly what my mindset was when I created the Online Health Academy, which was give clients a weekly assignment and shepherd them through a process over time. Over the course of 52 weeks is the main program here that I'm talking about. We go quarters at a time. Over 52 weeks, then when somebody looks back on their year, they were making all these, which seemed insignificant moves, these little chess moves throughout the year. And by the end of the year, they really have totally changed their lifestyle. And they didn't even really notice it, just because they were focused 1 week at a time with a new assignment at a time, bouncing around from diet to exercise to recovery to habitat to spirit, and bouncing all over this module, but they're slowly developing their skills. This is what makes things stick. Long term is truly where success is found with anything. All the stuff that I engage in, short-term mindset just doesn't work for any things that I'm into. For fitness, for music and getting proficient on instruments, for jujitsu, dog training, there's not one thing that you get this quick hit. You got to think long term with most things in life. So that's more of just a guiding principle I think we could all adopt into our life. But the next one is to improve your relationship with food is to always learn. Always learn. This is huge. Is nourish your brain. When you're learning about nutrition, if you want to increase your perspective on nutrition and your relationship with nutrition, where you don't have this negative, poor association with the way that you eat, always learn and be curious. Learn new things. It provides new tools. If you open books and you read a new book that's, a doctor wrote on nutrition, and you start to learn a little bit about physiology. You don't have to be a personal trainer or anything like that, but to just get well versed in what is insulin sensitivity, why is that important, you're going to be more inclined to go, oh, this is a tool in the tool bag. Then if I want to do a little bit lower carbohydrate diet, eating for a few months and exercise hard, it might create more of this insulin sensitivity thing, which has all these other benefits other than just the way that I look. Maybe it's going to help the way that I feel. Maybe it's going to help me be, have more energy for my kids, or, if you're a parent. So there's all sorts of tools to be learned if you stay curious and you continue to learn. When you learn, you also are gaining control over the whole situation. The more you learn, the more in control you are. Think about it. If you understand all these components to human health through nutrition, and all the positive benefits that you can get from eating the right way and eating a good diet, which there's numerous ways to do that, it's putting you in the driver's seat, because then, you're making these educated choices. One of the quotes that I use in the school a lot is, fish for a man, he eats for a day, teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. And so that's why there's books and reading assignments at the School of S.H.R.E.D Online Health Academy. I actually give out certain books that I want people to read, because then they get to be well versed as well. They learn enough to be able to be in the driver's seat and take control of their nutrition, which ultimately improves their relationship with food and can help establish long-term thinking and long-term habits, which gets them eating for health and not just purely fat loss or how they look, right? That's all a side effect. The next thing that always learning does is it allows you to come to your own conclusions on things. When you come to your own conclusions on things, again, that's empowering. It puts you in control. It increases your relationship with food. And then the last thing is it keeps you engaged in your health. It keeps it at the forefront of your vision. You know, if you're always learning something, you're always kind of invested. If you tune out and you're just not paying attention, you're more likely to just get taken away into other things that life has to offer. And then that can, you know, erode a little bit of that perspective and really the want and need. So, you know, continuing to learn keeps you engaged and it honestly keeps you motivated, but that can increase your relationship with food as well. So focus is everything. So that's it. You got to eat. That's episode 127 of the School of S.H.R.E.D. Thanks for hanging out with me. Go ahead and type any questions that you have for tomorrow. We are doing our Q&A. We have a few already, but we're going to collect them for another 24 hours. And that's it. With that, I want you to stay strong and healthy in body, stay relentless and energized in spirit, and stay determined in your pursuits today. That spells S.H.R.E.D. Now go shred the day and get better in every way. We'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Class dismissed.